mehr berishga harakat qildim. Ko'nglini olishga harakat qildim. Baribir befoyda bo'ldi. Meniyam sog'lig'im, asabim ko'tarmayapti. Ko'tara olmayapman. Yoshim kattaroq bo'lib qoldimi?
Bu bola ham sog'lom tug'iladi.
Sog'lom tug'ilishi uchun ona sog'lom bo'lishi kerak.
Agar xohlasam bilasan, yerni tagidan bo'lsa ham topaman.
Men ruxsat bermaganimga endi xolasini aralashtiryapti.
Daryo seni quling emas. Uni boylab olib o'tira olmaysan.
Siz izlagan barcha ko'rsatuv va seriallarning to'liq qismlari endi Sevimli YouTube sahifasida. Premyeralarni birinchilardan ko'rib boring. Obuna bo'ling va qo'ng'iroqchani bosib, hech bir qismni o'tkazib yubormang.
Oyi,
Ha,
telefon qiluvmidingiz?
ha, qiluvdim qizim. Ne ko'tarmaysan?
Ha, eshitmabman. Vanna tozalayotgandim.
Ha.
Nima bo'ldi, tinchlikmi?
Ertaga qishloqqa ketyapman. Bormaysanmi? Bolalaringni olib kelarding. Qorayib modasi chiqib ketgandir quyoshda yuraverib.
Ha, bilmasam, bular kelsinlar, so'raychi.
Hali kelmadimi?
Yo'q. Kelmadilar.
Qayoqda yuribdi ekan, telefon qilmaysanmi? Do'kon 8da yopilib bo'lgan edi.
Bilmasam, oyi. Kelib qolarlar.
Ha. Gazda navbatda turibdimikan balkim.
Ha, shunaqa bo'lsa kerak. Telefon qiluvdim, ko'tarmadilar.
Ha. Bugun odam rosa ko'p bo'ldi do'konda. Yaxshi ham shu bor.
Bo'pti, bo'lmasa oyi, ertalab nechida ketamiz?
8larda turolsan, 8larda ketamiz. Ertalab telefon qilaman yana uyg'otishga.
Ha, xo'p, bo'pti.
Xo'p, mayli, qizim.
Xo'p.
Bo'pti. Niginaxon. Qon bosimingiz tushib ketibdi. Saksonga 60. O'zi necha yuradi?
100ga 80 yurardi. Shuning uchun mazam bo'lmayotgan ekanda.
Xo'jayiningizlarga ayting, kofe qilib bersinlar.
Voy yo'q, xo'jayinim mas'ul.
Bo'lmasa hozir bitta ukol qilib ketaman.
Yo'q, kofe qilib berish kerak bo'lsa qilib beraman.
Sizni ovora qilamanmi?
Yo'q, ovorasi bor ekanmi? Voy xotinim o'ldiradi-ku hozir.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Oy. Asal?
Assalomu alaykum, xola.
Yana uxlamadingizmi?
Uyqum kelmayapti.
Uch kundan beri odam qanaqa uxlamasligi mumkin, a? Bunaqada kasal bo'lib qolasiz.
Harakat qildim uxlashga. Umuman ko'zimga uyqu kelmadi, xola.
Odamlar toqqa, dalalarga, ochiq havolarga uxlagani chiqadi. Dam olgani chiqadi. Shunda toza havoda dam olsangiz bo'lmaydimi?
Shuni aytaman deyman ham, xola. Lekin nimagadir ko'nglim tinch. Ancha xotirjamman, xola.
Men bildim nimaga uxlamayotganingizni.
Nega?
Charchamayapsiz. Ishga solish kerak. Yaxshilab buningizni ishqalab ishlataman. Charchab uxlaganingizni bilmay qolasiz.
Bo'ldi, xola. Shunaqa qiling. Nima ish qilamiz? Ishlaringiz bor?
Oldin do'lma qilaylik.
Do'lma qilamizmi?
Do'lma qilamiz.
Bo'ldi.
Sigir buzoqqa qaraymiz.
Voy, xola. Lekin men sigir sog'ishni bilmayman. Oldindan aytib qo'ying. Uzoqdan ko'rsam ham qochib ketaman yoshligimda.
O'zim o'rgataman. Yuvashgina sigirim bor.
Tepib qolmaydimi?
Yo. Sizdagi yosh qizni tepmaydi.
Boylab oladi oyog'ini. Unda tepmaydi, to'g'ri.
Shunaqa.
Qachon sog'amiz?
Bo'ldi. Do'lma qilaylik, keyin sog'amiz.
Ha, bo'pti. Unda nima qilay eting?
Oldin choy ichaylik. Keyin undan keyin sekin astalik bilan bajaraveramiz. Mannavaram ko'rinmadimi?
Mozor boshiga chiqib ketdilar menimcha.
Dodayam bomdodga yaqin chiqib ketgandilar. Yuring, choy qo'yamiz, tuxum qovuramiz.
Unda men uy tuxumlaridan qovuraman.
Ha, yaxshi, olib chiqa qoling.
Boshqacha qilib.
Yaxshi.
Bo'ldi, xola.
Kattayda bor.
Aha, xo'p.
Alo.
Allo? Ha, turdingmi?
Ha, oyi, assalomu alaykum.
Va alaykum assalom.
Turdim.
Nima, borasanmi?
Ha, boraman. Bolalarimni sog'indim dedim-u.
Ha, bo'pti, bo'l. Hozir olib ketaman uyingga.
Ha. Bo'pti, oyi. Oy, ne bitta uxladim. Oy. Uf. Voy. Shahboz aka? Shahboz aka.
Ha?
Qachon keldingiz?
Qachon kelaman? Kechasi keldim.
Voy. Ne aldavossiz? Soat 3:30 da ham yo'q edingiz.
Voy, uyquni ham harom qilding bor-ku. Soatga qaramadim.
Qayerda yuruvdingiz? Ha, bu kim topib oldingizmi?
Esing joyidami?
Siz qayerda edingiz deb savol berdim. 3:30 da ham yo'q edingiz.
To'xtagin, baraka topkur. Miyam ishlamayapti. Ozgina o'zimga kelib olay.
Nima miyangiz ishlamaydi? Qayerda edingiz davommi?
Hali
Nima, anu, nima?
mashinada bittasini urib yubordim.
Voy. Nima deyapsiz? Yaxshimi? O'lib qolmadimi?
Yo'q. O'lmadi. Sal turtilib ketdi.
Voy. Shuni gapirsangiz bo'ladi-ku, yuragim yorilib ketdi.
Больницаga olib bordim. Terpili ekan. Zo'rg'a pul berib ko'ndirdim. Zo'rg'a chakagini o'chirdim.
Hozir yaxshimi? Tinch edimi?
Tinch edi. Birpas uxlab olay, boshim og'riyapti onasi.
Mayli. Ishga bormaysizmi aytgancha?
Boraman. 1 soat uxlay, 1 soatdan keyin uyg'otib yubor, xo'p?
Anu, qishloqqa ketyapman.
Nega?
Oyim ketayotgan ekanlar, shunga bolalarni ko'rib kelay. Sog'indim bolalarni.
Bo'pti, bor.
Telefoningiz yoningizda tursin, telefon qilaman.
Xo'p.
Bo'pti.
Hadicha, men ketdim, eshikni qulflab olinglar.
Voy. Alo.
Allo.
Ha,
Daryo,
xola,
uyg'ondingmi?
yaxshimisiz? Ha, uyg'ondim.
Ha, men kelib qoldim. Hozir seni olib, keyin yo'ldan Laylani olamiz.
Ha, opam ham boradilarmi?
Layla ham borar ekan.
Yaxshi qilibsiz.
Bo'pti.
Xo'p, mayli, ko'rishguncha.
Oyi. Akam turmayaptilar.
Oy. Hozir uyg'otamiz uni ham. Bor, sen kiyimingni almashtirib olgin.
Xo'p.
Kamron,
Kim bor?
Assalomu alaykum.
Va alaykum assalom. Iya. Samandar. Yaxshimisan? Qo'lingni ber. Yaxshi yuribsanmi?
Amaki ismini qayerda taniysiz?
Men seni adang bo'laman, tanimadingmi?
Adam?
Ha?
Ada. Qayerda edingiz,
O'g'lim.
Ada?
Seni sog'indim, bolam. Oying seni mendan olib qochib ketgan. Zo'rg'a topdim bolam seni. Uyda kim bor?
Haligi oymushga ketdilar.
Aha.
Xolam borlar.
Yur, tashqariga chiqaylik. Senga zo'r narsa olib kelganman.
Rostdanmi?
Ha? Ketdik.
Ana xolam kelyaptilar.
Assalomu alaykum, xola.
Qalaysizlar, yaxshimisizlar? Qani yuringlar.
qalaysiz?
Qalaysan, Daryo, yaxshimisan?
Yaxshimisiz?
Tuzumsan, sonlari yaxshimi? Eson-omonmisan?
Rahmat. O'zingiz yaxshi yuribsizmi?
Yaxshi.
Yuring, ketdik.
Oldiga o'tirasan?
Xo'p.
Samandar. 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 Qayerga chiqib ketdi bu?
Senga velosiped yo'qotmi? Unda hozir olamiz. Qaysi biridan olaylik?
Samokat.
Samakat ham olamiz, velik ham olamiz. Tanla, qaysi birini olamiz? Qani, mana shuni haydab ko'rchi. Yo'qdimi senga? Voy, sekinroq hayda. Ehtiyot bo'l.
Assalomu alaykum ona.
Ha, yaxshimisan, Izzat?
Rahmat.
Nima? Xotining yana yo'qmi? Ketib qoldimi?
Ha, gapirmang, shunaqaga o'xshayapti. Siz qayerdan bila qoldingiz?
Ha, qizing SMS yozgan ekan. Endi ko'rinma.
Obbo.
Xotining bilan gaplashmadingmi telefon qilib?
Ona o'chirib qo'ygan telefonini.
Nima bo'lgandi o'zi?
Bundoq qarasa hech narsa bo'lgani yo'q-da. To'g'risi ona. Nima ham bo'lardi? Mash qizlar bilan gap talashganda.
Anu megachining nimadir demaganmikan ishqilib?
Ha, yo'q, u nima deydi?
Men borib anuningni bir tagini quritib kelmasam bo'lmabdi-da.
Oyi, mana kechqurun yaxshi televizor ko'rib, gaplashib, bemalol yaxshi o'tiruvdik, har doimgidek. Uyqum keldi, kirib yotdim. Ertalab tursam yo'q.
Anu singillarini uyda emasmikan, qildingmi?
Yo'q, qildim, ularni ham uyda emas ekan. Oyi, to'g'risi boru, men ham charchadim, rosa charchadim. Nima qilishni bilmayapman. Umuman qayerdan ham uylandim o'zi bilmayman. Nima qilishga ham boshim qotdi. Charchadim men.
Ha mayli. O'rtog'imga telefon qilib bilaychi, aytib yuboraman.
Bo'pti, mayli. Xo'p, yaxshi o'tiring.
Yusuf, o'ynayapsanmi? To'polon qilma, xo'p? Kashi yeysanmi?
Yeyman.
Hozir olib kelaman.
Men baribir ham do'konga boraman.
Alo?
Opa,
Ho, Xadija. Ho.
nega telefon ko'tarmaysiz?
Ish vaqtida telefonda gaplashish mumkin emas. Nima uchun hadeb qilaverasan? Qilmagin dedim-ku.
Opa, samandar yo'q.
Nima deganing yo'q?
Bilmayman, chiqib ketibdi, hech qayerda yo'q.
Xadija, hazillashma men bilan.
Opa, hamma yo'lni qaradim, yo'q.
Uylarni qara. Bekinib yotgandir. Oldingidagi shkafning ichida uxlab qolgandir.
Opa, men sizga yo'q deyapman. Nimaga ishonmaysiz?
Xadija, bor ko'chalarni qaragin, hozir boraman.
Ko'chalarni ham qarab keldim.
Qo'shnilarnikiga chiq. Qara mahallani.
Opa, kelasizmi, yo'qmi? Yo'q bo'ladiyapman.
Uf. Assalomu alaykum, Ravshan aka.
Va alaykum assalom.
Siz yoningizga ketayotgandim.
Tinchlikmi?
Singlim telefon qildi. O'g'lim yo'qolib qopti. Birov uyga o'tib keling.
O'rningizga odam qo'ying-da, tez borib keling.
Xo'p. Rahmat. Yusuf, o'tiribsanmi? Voy. Yusuf? Yusuf? Yusuf?
Alo?
Alo?
Assalomu alaykum. O, Feruza opa.
Lola, odam ko'payib ketdi-ya. Shahboz kelgani yo'q, telefonini ko'tarmayapti.
Iye? Menga qara. Ering qayerda?
Uyda edilar. Ertalabga yaqin keldilar.
Qayerda yurgan ekan ertalabgacha?
Kimdir mashinada urib ketibdilar.
Voy.
Keyin borib bosti qilgunlaricha ertalab bo'pti-da, menimcha. Men uxlab qoluvdim. Nechida kelganlarini ham bilmayman.
Feruza opa, bir kun amallab turing endi opajon.
Xo'p.
Hozir amallab uyg'otib jo'natib yuboramiz Shahbozni.
Mayli, xo'p.
Xo'p, mayli, bo'pti. Menga qara. Urgan odam o'lib bo'lib qolmabdimi ish qilib, tinchmikin?
Voy, yo'q, oyi. Nafasingizni so'qiling. Sal turtvorganlar, vohma qilib, shantaj qilib tashabdi.
Ha. Qil qani eringga?
Hozir.
Alo.
Ne ko'tarmaysiz?
Nima bo'ldi? Tinchlikmi?
Voy, ishxonada odam to'lib ketib, sizni qidirishyapti.
Endi turdim, vannada edim, eshitmabman.
Bo'ling, voy. Tezroq boring.
Xo'p, namcha baqirasan?
Feruza telefon qildi, eplolmayotgan ekan.
Voy, xo'p. Boraman hozir yarim soatda. Sen bugun kelasanmi yo qolasanmi?
Nima qilay, qovuraymi?
Endi so'rayapman-da.
Oyi, bugun qaytamizmi? Yo, bugun qaytmas ekanmiz, qolamiz.
Ha, bo'pti. Eslichi bolalarni olib kel o'zing bilan, xo'pmi?
Xo'p.
Men ham sog'inib ketdim ularni.
Xo'p, bo'pti.
Bo'pti. Voy. Voy, Salim mana. Seni kim olib chiqdi? Oying qani?
Oyim uyda davovatdilar.
Uydami?
Ha, oyim uyda. Shikolat bering.
Shikolat olib bering. Sen o'zing chiqdingmi bu yoqqa? Salim mana. Ha? Shikolat olib beraymi?
Ha.
Ketdik. Yur.
Voy, sizni yoningizga chiqib ketuvmidi? Men buni qidirib yuribman. Siz oldingizga chiqdim.
Ha, meni yonimga chiqibdi.
Voy, ke?
Borasanmi oyingga?
Nimaga chiqib ketding-ki? Yur, kashini beraman.
Yo'q.
Voy. Ke? Bu sizga o'rganib qopti.
Ha. Nega bolani yolg'iz qoldirdingiz bunaqa qilib?
Yo'q, uyda ish qilayotgandim. Chiqib ketganini ko'rmay qopman. Yusuf, ke bolam?
Borasanmi Yusuf?
Yana chiqamiz, xo'p? Ana.
Mayli, yaxshi bor.
Xayr. Xadicha, nima bo'ldi?
Hech qayerda yo'q.
Qanaqasiga hech qayerda bo'lmaydi? Ko'chalarni qaradingmi?
Qaradim, uyda ham yo'q, opa.
O'rtoqlarnikidan so'radingmi?
Bu yoqda o'rtoqlari yo'q, opa. Qo'shnilarni uyini qaradim. Hech qayerga chiqmagan.
Balki oldingidek shkafda uxlab qolgandir. Shkaflarning ichini qaradingmi?
Hech qayerda yo'q, opa.
Qanaqasiga yo'q? Balki tomdadir, chiddaka chiqib ketgandir. Hozir men qarab tushaman.
Shoptola?
Ha, dadasi.
Ha, qalaysan?
Yaxshi.
Nima qilyapsan?
O'tiring, dadasi. O'tiring. Nima qilardim? Qozon yuvyapman, dadasi.
Sekin, sachratmay-yu.
Nima o'tirib oldingiz bu yoqqa?
Qatga o'tiring.
Nima meni yonimga kelib oldingiz o'zi?
Haqiqatga boring, kim yoniga boring, xotin. G'alatisana sen.
Voy, dadasi. Soch boraymi?
Xullas, opam kelayotgan ekanlar. O'shanga bir tansiqroq ovqat qilgan.
Xo'p. Dadasi. Yomon mazam bo'lmayapti.
Nimaga?
Belim bilan shunaqa pastga tortib og'riyapti. Dard kelgandek. Tug'ib qo'ymanmikan, ha?
Yo, jinnimisan? To'royli homilador nimani tug'adi?
4 oydan oshdi dadasi.
Qoning chiqmadi-yu.
Ha, bilmasam endi. Bola kichkinadir. Ha, jingalagingizdan eslaysizmi? 7 oyligida ham zo'rg'a qonim chiqib keyin ko'targan. Biror marta doktorga olib bormadingiz-a, dadasi? Voy belim, yomon og'riyapti dadasi.
Hazillashmagan.
Ya. 40 ga chiqib endi siz bilan hazillashaymi dadasi? Belim og'rib tursa ham sizga hazil qilamanmi?
Nima bo'ldi o'zi?
Bilmayman. Qanaqadir dard kelgandagi juda ham qattiq pastga bosib og'riyapti-da.
Bo'lmasam, doktor chaqirish kerak unda.
Yuring, doktorga olib chiqib qo'ya qoling.
Mayli. Yo skori chaqiraymi?
Chaqiring. Oy.
O'zi senga og'ir ko'tarish mumkin emas. Sog'lig'ing ko'tarmasa nima qilasan ish qilib?
Ha, endi ish qilmasam kim qiladi? Kelin bormidi qiladigan?
Alo. Assalomu alaykum, Inom aka. Bu G'ayratman G'ayrat. Do'konchi. Bitta tez yordam yuboring uyimga. U xotinimning mazasi bo'lmayapti. Bo'shmi mashinangiz? Jo'nating aka. Xo'p, rahmat. Yur uyga kir.
Qozonni yuvib qo'yasizmi?
Ha, yuvaman o'zim. Bor.
Yo, yaxshilab yuving-a.
Xo'p.
Chala qolmasin.
Ha, sog'lig'ing ko'tarmasa ekan, nima qilasan og'ir narsalarni ko'tarib?
Qilaman-da endi.
Qo'shnilarnikini qaradingmi?
So'radim, opa. Voy opa! 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 Yordam beringlar! Yordam beringlar!
Yiqilib tushma, sekin. Ehtiyot bo'lgin. Ketamiz menda?
Yana bitta uchi.
Bo'pti.
Ada yana ketamiz. Yana olib kelasizmi?
Ha, ko'p marta olib kelaman hali.
Mani xolam qidiradilar. Ketaylik.
Ketdik, xo'p, yur.
Xola?
Voy.
Assalomu alaykum.
Assalomu alaykum, buva.
Alaykum assalom. Xush kelibsizlar.
Assalomu alaykum. Yaxshimisiz?
Yaxshimisiz, sog'liklar?
Tuzumisiz?
Yaxshi keldingizmi?
Assalomu alaykum. Yaxshimisiz? Charchamayapsizmi?
Assalomu alaykum. Yaxshimisiz?
Asal opa?
Kelinglar. Yaxshi keldinglarmi?
Opajon, men bu sizga.
Nimaga ovora bo'ldinglar?
Hech ham ovorasi yo'q.
Yaxshimisiz?
Yaxshimisiz?
Yaxshi keldingizmi? O'zingiz yaxshimisiz?
Ha.
Yaxshi keldinglarmi? Assalomu alaykum.
Asalxon, yaxshimisiz? Tuzumisiz?
Yaxshi keldinglarmi? Siz yaxshimisiz?
Asal opa, qanaqasiz?
Yaxshi keldinglar.
Opa,
voy
pocham
Kamron,
sizni 2
yaxshimisiz?
kundan beri qidiradilar.
Assalomu alaykum, mamma.
Va alaykum assalom. Mayli, keyin gaplasharmiz.
Kiringlar ichkariga.
Meni qo'yavering. Yaxshi keldinglarmi?
Shu yerda o'tirib qolaylik.
Shu yerdami? O'tiring.
Kelinglar, o'tiringlar.
O't qani?
Qani? O'ta qolinglar.
Kelinglar.
Sog'ligingiz yaxshimi?
O'tir,
Sig'amizmi?
o'tir.
Keling bu
Sig'asizlar.
yoqqa.
Keling, buni olib qo'yaman.
Qani?
Yaxshimisiz?
Keling, Asal.
Rahmat bolam.
Qani?
tinchlik xotirjamlik bo'lsin. Hammani o'ylagan niyatiga yetkazsin Alloh.
Amin. Alloh akbar.
Nima qilib ovorib ko'tarib yursin?
Ovorasi bormi?
Ha, bilasizlar-ku, dehqonchilik-ku. Bodringda bodring, pomidorda pomidor, uzumda uzum, mevada meva. Shaharda qiyin yashash. Hamma narsani sotib olasizlar.
Doktor, men ketmasam bo'lmaydi.
Siz hazillashyapsizmi? Mikroinsult o'tkazdingiz. Sizga qimirlash ham mumkin emas.
Bolam yo'qolib qolgan.
Siz hozir insult bo'lsangiz, qo'l oyog'ingiz ishlamay qolsa, kim javob beradi keyin sizga? Uyingizdagilarga xabar bering, singlim.
Meni singlim bilan o'g'limdan boshqa hech kimim yo'q.
Hozir sizga ukol dorilar kerak bo'ladi. Uni kim olib kelib beradi?
Men olib kelib beraman. Hozir xolamga qilaman.
Siz o'zingizni o'ylang, o'zingizni ehtiyot qiling. Bu kasal bilan hazillashib bo'lmaydi. Turishga holingiz yo'q-ku, ketaman deysiz. Sizni qo'yib yubora olmaymiz bu holatda.
Xolalarim telefon ko'tarishmayapti. Bittasini o'chiq, bittasi ko'tarmayapti.
Ko'rdingizmi? O'zim turmasam bo'lmaydi. Bolam yo'qolgan 6 yosh. Menga qo'l qo'yib qo'ying. Men bormasam bo'lmaydi.
Mana, ko'rdingizmi? Turishga ham holingiz yo'q. Men sizga javob bera olmayman. Sog'lik bilan hazillashmang. Xohlasangiz ichki ishlar xodimlarini chaqiraman. Mahalla noziringizni chaqiraman. Qaysi mahalla?
Obod mahalla.
Yaxshi, hozir chaqiraman.
Opa, men taksini chaqirib uyga borib pulni olib kela qolay.
Sen mahallaga chiq birinchi. Mahallada kameralar bor. Ko'rishadi.
Xo'p, opa. Faqat siz turib ketmang. Doktorning gapini eshitdingiz-ku?
Yaxshi, bora qol. Odamni xayoliga kelmaydigan ishlarni qiladi. Ulardan chiqayotgan gaplar, qilayotgan ishlar shunaqa qo'rqinchli.
Eng muhimi, eringiz yaxshilar-ku. Urmasalar, so'kmasalar.
Agar yana bir marta bolamga yaqinlashsangiz, bu safar tirik qolmaysiz.
Nima qilyapti bu yerda bu?
Menimcha bola tushish xavfi bor.
Unda tekshirib ko'rish kerak, keling.
Qolmasdan davolanishning iloji yo'q.
Qayerdan homilador bo'ladi?
So'rang.
Tushunmadim.
$30 That woman had 30 years with my brother, and she used every single one of them like a slow draining battery pack, pulling just enough out of him each day that he never noticed how empty he was getting. My name is Liam. I'm a 58-year-old retired corrections officer from Louisville, Kentucky, and I've spent the better part of my adult life watching human beings in controlled environments. I know what a caged person looks like. I know the specific stillness that develops in someone who has stopped expecting anything different from their situation. I recognized it in my brother Dean 3 years into his marriage with Emma. I just didn't know what to do about it until the night he called me from a parking lot at 2 a.m, shaking so hard I could hear it through the phone. Wednesday, September 3rd, 2:14 a.m. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. Patrice didn't move. She sleeps the way righteous people sleep, which is deeply and without guilt. I grabbed the phone, saw Dean's name, and was already sitting up before the first ring. Finished. Dean breathing. Then Liam. One word, my brother's voice, and something in the one word that I hadn't heard since we were 9 years old, and he'd fallen off the garage roof and couldn't figure out if he was hurt or not. Where are you? Croger parking lot. Hyde Park. It's 2 a.m. I know, I couldn't go home. There was this thing with the fishing trip, and he started again. Liam, I asked her if I could go fishing with Butch's cousin next weekend. One weekend, I haven't been fishing in 4 years. 4 years. I waited. She said no. Said she needed the garage reorganized before the Pattersons come over next month. Liam, the Pattersons aren't coming until October. I can go fishing and reorganize the garage and still have 3 weeks left over. I told her that. You know what she did? Tell me. She didn't yell. She didn't argue. She looked at me and she said, I thought you cared about this family, and walked out of the room. A pause. I've been sitting in this parking lot for an hour because I don't know how to go back in there. I looked at the ceiling. Patrice's hand found my arm in her sleep. She has radar, that woman. And I put my hand over hers for a second. Dean, stay on the phone. Tell me everything. He talked for 91 minutes. I know because I checked my call log the next morning, and 91 minutes still felt like he'd barely scratched the surface. The promotion at his engineering firm, the one 12 years ago that would have moved them to Portland. Dean had wanted it, had practically already accepted it in his head. Emma called his supervisor directly and declined on his behalf. Told the man that Dean had decided the timing wasn't right for the family. Dean found out from his supervisor 2 weeks later. Emma explanation. I was protecting us. The savings account, Emma name only, always had been. Dean's direct deposit went into it. Dean got an allowance. He used that word allowance. And I had to physically stop myself from saying something for gas and lunch. Marcus Ford, Dean's closest friend since college. The man stood as his best man at their wedding. Emma decided roughly 8 years ago that Marcus was irresponsible and a bad influence, because Marcus had gone through a divorce, and that kind of thinking is contagious. Deanne hadn't spoken to Marcus in going on 7 years. Tyler and Mara, his own kids, good kids, both of them, but raised in a house where they watched their father ask permission to exist. Tyler was 26 and still thought that was how marriages worked. Mara had moved to Columbus 2 years ago and called her dad when she knew Emma wasn't home. I sat in the dark of my bedroom in Louisville and I felt something shift in my chest. Not anger, not yet, something quieter. The feeling of a decision forming. Dean, I said when he finally ran out of words. Go across the river, get a room at the Covington Inn. I know the manager there. I'll call ahead. Liam, I can't just, you're already in a parking lot at 2 a.m. You've already left for the night whether you meant to or not. Go to the Covington Inn. I'm coming to Cincinnati. A long pause. You don't have to. I know I don't have to. I want to. I swung my legs off the bed. I've wanted to for about 25 years, brother. This just finally felt like the right time. Patrice was awake when I hung up. She didn't pretend otherwise. How bad? She asked. Bad. I turned on the lamp. I'm going to Cincinnati. She sat up, looked at me the way she's looked at me for 32 years. Steady, clear. Already 3 steps ahead. The switch. The switch. She nodded slowly. We'd talked about this not seriously, not as a real plan, just one of those conversations married people have when they're frustrated about something they can't fix. What if you just went and the sentence had never finished until now? How long? Week, maybe 10 days. She reached over and picked up her phone. I'll call the school and reschedule your sub-coverage. Patrice teaches 4th grade. She has handled every complicated thing in our lives with the same calm she uses to explain fractions. It is one of the reasons I love her unreasonably. You're going to need to practice his handwriting. He still does that thing with his 7s. I know we're identical, Patrice, not strangers. You haven't been in the same room with Emma for 4 years. She's going to be looking for anything off. She gave me the look. Practice the 7s, Liam. I practiced the 7s. I arrived in Covington on Friday morning, September 5th. Dean was in room 114 of the Covington Inn. A good room. Riverview. The kind of place that's comfortable without being impressive. He looked like a man who'd slept for the first time in years and hadn't quite figured out how he felt about it. We sat across from each other at the small table by the window, and I studied his face. Same face I've been looking at since before I can remember. Same jaw, same eyes, same slight asymmetry on the left side that only matters to us. 58 years of the same genetic information diverged into 2 entirely different experiences. Dean looked at me the same way. This is strange, he said. It's always strange. We're twins. No, I mean, he gestured between us. You look like what I think I'm supposed to look like. Does that make sense? It made complete sense, and it was the thing that decided it for me right there at that table more than anything else he'd said on the phone. Here's what's going to happen. I said you're going to tell me everything. Schedules, routines, what she makes for dinner Monday through Sunday, what you watch on weeknights, what you drive to work, what route you take, what time you're expected home, her patterns, her triggers, her tells, everything. Liam, she's going to know. She might eventually. I picked up the coffee cup. but I promise you she's going to spend the days before she figures it out. More confused than she has ever been in 30 years of managing your life. And that confusion is going to be educational for everyone. Dean was quiet for a moment. Then the smallest thing, the corner of his mouth moved. She reorganized the garage last spring. There's nothing in it that needs doing. I know she made that up. I know, Dean. He looked out at the river, the Ohio moving slow and gray in the September morning. She told my boss I didn't want that promotion. I know you told me I wanted that promotion, Liam. I know you did. He turned back to me, and for the first time since I'd arrived, he looked like my brother instead of a man I used to know. Don't blow up my house. I'm not going to blow up your house. I set the cup down. I'm going to remind it what you sound like. We spent all of Friday and Saturday in that hotel room. Dean talked. I took notes. Actually took notes. A yellow legal pad. Because Patrice was right about the details. Emma's schedule, her coffee order in the morning. The specific way Dean loaded the dishwasher that she'd corrected enough times that it was now muscle memory for him. The neighbors to avoid. The ones who were genuinely Dean's people. The way Emma referred to his engineering work as your little projects. Dean said it so neutrally that I don't think he even registered it anymore. I registered it. Sunday morning, September 7th, Dean caught a Greyhound to Louisville. Patrice was waiting for him at the station. She'd agreed to host him, feed him, and keep him off his phone unless it was an emergency. Her words to him at the door, as relayed to me later, were, "Come in, eat something real. Your brother's got this." Sunday afternoon, I drove Dean's car. A sensible gray sedan that had Emma-preferred radio station already programmed. Across the river and into Hyde Park, Cincinnati. I parked in Dean's driveway, sat for a second. 30 years she ran this man. 10 days, I figured. 10 days of a different version of the same face. Let's see what Emma Vance does when the machine doesn't run. I got out of the car and walked into my brother's house. Welcome back to Final Verdict. Grab your favorite snack, settle in, and get ready, because today's story proves that every decision has a consequence. Some people had every opportunity to do the right thing, but they made the worst possible choice. Before we jump in, tell us in the comments what you think is going to happen, and don't forget to subscribe to Final Verdict. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Emma was in the kitchen Sunday dinner pot roast, which Dean had mentioned was her signature performance dish, the one she made when she wanted the house to feel like everything was fine. She looked up when I came in. "You're late. Traffic on the bridge." I set Dean's keys on the hook by the door. Right hook. Dean had specified, always the right hook, and walked to the kitchen like I'd done it 10,000 times, because Dean had 10,000 times at least. "The Pattersons confirmed for October 15th, Emma said, not looking up from the stove. "I told them we'd do dinner here. I need you to look at the garage this week. The shelving on the left side has been loose for months." "I'll take a look," I said. "Also, your mother called. I'll call her back." She called twice. I turned, looked at Emma directly. She was still facing the stove, poised, composed. The specific posture of a woman who expects her words to land without requiring eye contact to enforce them. 25 years of watching people in institutions taught me something. People who control others rarely look at them when they're giving instructions. Eye contact implies negotiation. Instructions don't negotiate. "I'll call her back, Emma," I said. Same tone, no edge. She didn't respond, which meant that was fine. I didn't know it yet, but that exact exchange, so small, so routine, was going to feel completely different to her by Wednesday. Dinner was quiet. Tyler stopped by. He lives 12 minutes away in Oakley, worked at a marketing firm downtown, and ate with us. He looked at me once across the pot roast with an expression I couldn't fully read. Not suspicious, something more careful than that. I filed it away. After Tyler left, after the dishes were done, I did them without being asked, which apparently was not Dean's pattern because Emma watched me from the doorway with an expression like she was checking if the step was broken. I sat in the living room and watched the evening news. Emma came in at 9, sat in her chair, picked up her book. 10 minutes passed. "You're quiet tonight," she said. "Long week," I said. "Good quiet, though." She turned a page. I looked at the television. "Good quiet, though." Dean had told me she hated that phrase, that he'd used it once years ago, and she told him that quiet is never good. It just means something's being avoided. I waited 30 seconds. What does that mean? Good. Quiet means I'm comfortable. I didn't look away from the TV means the house feels okay. Doesn't always feel okay. A pause long enough to park a car in. The pot roast was good. She finally said, "Yeah, I said it was. I went to bed at 10:30, lay in Dean's bed in Dean's room and looked at the ceiling. He's been sleeping in this room for 30 years. Same ceiling, different man than he started as. Not for long." Monday, September 8th, 6:45 in the morning. I was making coffee when Emma came downstairs in her robe, already operating, already in the mode I'd come to think of as management posture. Chin up, shoulders set, the morning briefing face. "The Hendersons are coming Saturday," she said, pulling her mug from the cabinet. "I need you to confirm the menu with Sandra Henderson. She has that dairy thing now. And move your thing with Tyler to Sunday. Also make sure your car is out of the driveway by 10. Sandra comments on cars." I poured my coffee, turned around. "No." Emma stopped, not froze. Stopped. The way a machine stops when you pull a plug. Everything that was in motion just ceased. What? Tyler's thing stays where it is. My car's fine in the driveway. I picked up my mug. Call Sandra yourself about the dairy thing. You're better with dietary details than I am anyway. The silence that followed was the loudest thing I'd heard since leaving Louisville. Emma's face did something I don't think her face was accustomed to doing. It searched, scrolled through responses the way you scroll through a menu looking for something that fits the situation, and came up empty. Dean very measured. I'm just asking you, I know what you're asking. Still calm, still warm, even not cold. I wasn't being cold. That wasn't the point. The point was simply that there was a man in her kitchen who meant what he said. I'm good on all of it except those 3 things. Those 3 things I'm passing back. She left the kitchen without finishing her coffee. I didn't know it yet, but she was going directly to her phone, and who she called would become very important before the week was out. Monday's no scent ripples. By Monday evening, I felt them. Emma was pleasant at dinner. Specifically, deliberately surgically pleasant. The kind of pleasant that is designed to make you feel the weight of the alternative. See how nice this can be when you cooperate. Dean had described this exact mode. He called it the good weather warning. Sunny skies right before she needed something. I was thinking, she said, passing the salad, that we could repaint the den before the Pattersons come. The den looks fine. It looked fine 3 years ago. It looks dated now. I like it. Pleasant face. Persistent. I just think it would be nice. Then let's talk about it after the Pattersons come and we see whether they even notice. I took the salad. No sense painting for guests who might not care. She put the salad bowl down with slightly more precision than necessary. That's 2, I thought. Keep going, Emma. Wednesday, September 10th. Mara called in the afternoon. Dean's younger daughter, 23, calling from Columbus. She called the house phone, which I'd noted was her pattern. She avoided Emma's cell whenever possible. Hey, Dad. Her voice was bright but listening. The specific brightness of a child who has learned to take emotional temperature before entering a room. Hey, sweetheart. How's Columbus? Good. Really good. Hey, are you okay? You sound different. Oh, she's sharp. Different. How? I don't know. More a pause? Dad, did you actually tell Mom no about something? I smiled at the wall. Why do you ask? Because she called me Monday and said you were being difficult. And I've never heard her use that word for you. She uses that word for Tyler when he pushes back. She never uses it for you. Things change, I said carefully. Dad, softer now. Is everything okay? Are you okay? She deserves the truth. Not yet. But she deserves to know something real. I'm the best I've been in a while, Mara. I promise you don't need to worry about me right now. A pause. She was working something out. Okay, she said slowly. I believe you. Good. Come visit soon. Bring your appetite. I'm cooking Saturday. You're cooking? You never another pause. Okay? Yeah, I'll come Saturday. I hung up and stood in Dean's kitchen for a moment. She knows something's different. She just doesn't know what. And the fact that her first instinct was concern, not irritation, not suspicion. That tells me everything about what kind of daughter Dean raised, even from inside a managed house. I texted Butch Keller in Louisville. How do you feel about a drive to Cincinnati Saturday? Butch texted back in 4 seconds. Do I get to watch you do the thing? Yeah. Leaving Friday night. What time? Thursday, September 11th. Emma called Roberta. I know because Tyler told me he stopped by Thursday evening on what I was beginning to understand were increasingly frequent visits. He'd been by Monday, too, and again Wednesday for 20 minutes. Each time he watched me with that careful, unreadable expression from Sunday dinner, Thursday, he stayed for an hour. We sat on Dean's back porch, September evening, cooling off, the Hyde Park neighborhood doing its quiet thing around us. She called Grandma Roberta. Tyler said, Not a question. Did she said you were going through something and that Grandma should probably check in? He picked at the label on his bottle. Grandma Roberta called me after, asked me if Dad seemed okay. What did you tell her? He looked at me sideways. That expression again, careful, precise, landing somewhere between a question and a statement. I told her, Dad seemed great. He said, Best I'd seen him in years. Honestly, we sat with that for a moment. Uncle Liam, Tyler said quietly. I didn't answer. I figured it out Monday night. He said it flat. No drama. You hold your coffee mug different. Dad holds it with both hands. You hold it by the handle. I've been watching you for 3 days. The coffee mug. Patrice would have caught that. I should have caught that. I looked at my nephew, 26 years old. His father's face, his father's steadiness, but something in his eyes that Dean had spent 30 years losing. How long have you known your dad needed something to change? I asked. He looked out at the yard. A long time. Since I was about 12, he said, and she told him he wasn't allowed to coach my little league team anymore because it conflicted with her book club. I put my coffee mug down, both hands. He coached 1 game. Tyler said, I remember it. He was good. He was laughing. He paused. I don't remember the last time I saw my dad laugh without checking first to see if it was okay. The yard was quiet. The neighborhood was quiet. Something in my chest that had been wound up since Wednesday's parking lot phone call. Unwound about 2 full turns. Tyler. I turned to look at him directly. I need you to not say anything to your mother. Not yet. Can you do that? He looked back at me, his father's eyes. Uncle Liam, I've been not saying things to my mother since I was 12 years old. I think I can manage a few more days. IF stories like this keep you hooked until the very end. Take 1 second to hit the like button and subscribe to Final Verdict. Most viewers watch without subscribing, but every single like and subscription helps us bring you even more unforgettable revenge stories packed with shocking twists, emotional payback, and satisfying endings. Thanks for being part of this community. Now, let's see how this story ends. Friday, September 12th. Emma brought out the silence, not the conversational quiet, the weapon, the specific loaded atmospheric silence that Dean had described as her heaviest tool. The kind that fills a house like weather, where every room you walk into has the pressure of something unresolved pressing on the ceiling. I've worked in corrections. I've worked with people who used silence as a weapon for 20 years and had perfected it to an art form. I've sat across from men who hadn't spoken in 3 days. As a power move, I made coffee, made breakfast, left Emma portion on the counter under a plate, went to Dean's home office, and worked on the crossword I'd brought from Louisville. At 11 a.m., Emma appeared in the doorway. I don't understand what's happening with you. I looked up from the crossword, patient, unhurried. What do you mean? You've been different since Sunday. You're not. You're not talking to me. You're not. Reframed. Emma Vance Liam was not a woman who easily showed confusion. But what was on her face right now was as close as she got. I feel like you don't care about what I need right now. I hear that. I set the crossword down. What do you need? I need you too. She paused. The framing had been ready. She'd walked in here with it loaded. But something about the direct question seemed to interrupt the delivery mechanism. I need things to feel normal. I think things feel pretty normal to me, I said. I made breakfast. I checked the garage shelving, fixed the left side. By the way, it was just 2 loose screws. I've been right here all morning. That's not what I mean. Then help me understand what you mean, Emma. Specifically. The specifically landed somewhere. I could see it land. She looked at me for a long moment. And for the first time since Sunday, maybe for the first time in a very long time, I saw something behind the management posture. Not softness, exactly. Something more like the outline of a person who had been operating on a particular strategy for so long that being asked to name it out loud to someone who wasn't going to flinch was a genuinely new experience. She left the doorway without answering. I didn't know it yet, but she was going to call Roberta again. And this time, Roberta was going to say something that changed the weekend entirely. The best thing about being a twin isn't what people think. It's not the finishing each other's sentences or the feeling pain across distances thing. It's simpler than that. It's that somewhere in the world there's a person who has known your face longer than anyone, longer than your parents, longer than your wife. And when that person shows up at a moment that matters, something in you that's been braced for a long time finally gets to breathe out. Saturday, September 13th. Butch Keller arrived at 9 a.m. In his pickup truck with a cooler of drinks, a bag of chips, and the energy of a man who'd been waiting his whole life for exactly this situation. Emma answered the door. Butch, she said, the name alone carrying an entire filed complaint. Emma, Butch, God bless him, has never in his life acknowledged subtext. Beautiful morning, isn't it? Brought drinks. Dean around. She looked past him. At the truck, at the cooler, at Butch's general presence in the universe. He's in the kitchen. He walked past her like a man who'd been walking through doors his whole life without checking if they were open. In the kitchen, Butch set the cooler down, looked at me, and performed an extraordinary act of discipline. He held it together completely without a single crack in the facade. Morning, he said, like we'd done this 100 times. Morning, Butch. I handed him a coffee. Glad you made it, wouldn't miss it, he said. And the way he said it had enough dry humor in it to fuel a separate story entirely. Mara arrived at 11:000. She walked in, hugged me. I let her hug me, Dean's daughter, with the specific, careful feeling of something borrowed and precious, and then held me at arm's length. You look good, Dad. She looked at me a beat longer than a daughter looks at a father she talks to every week. Then something settled in her face, and she let it go, and she went to pour herself coffee. She knows, I thought, or she's close, but she's choosing to let it be, whatever it is. Marcus Ford arrived at noon. I'd called him Wednesday as Dean. Voice steady, words careful. Marcus, it's Dean. I know it's been too long, way too long. I'm having some people over Saturday. I'd really like you to come. A silence on the other end long enough that I thought the call had dropped. Then Marcus very quietly. Dean. Yeah, I'll be there. 59 years old. Marcus Ford. Heavier than the photos Dean had shown me. Gray at the temples. The same wide, steady face of a man who weathered something and come through it. He looked at me for a long second. Then he walked forward and put both arms around me. And I led him because whatever he thought he was hugging, the gesture was 30 years overdue and it belonged to my brother regardless. Man, Marcus said into my shoulder. Man, I missed you. I know. I managed. Me too. Emma came down the stairs at 12:15 and stopped on the bottom step. She looked at the kitchen. At Butch. At Mara. At Marcus Ford. At the food I'd made. At the general occupied warmth of a house that had been quiet for so long that it had apparently forgotten what fool felt like. Her face moved through 4 expressions. Then she straightened, walked into the kitchen with her chin up. Marcus, flat, I didn't know you were coming. Dean invited me, Marcus said with the specific pleasantness of a man who does not owe anyone in this room an explanation. Great to see you, Emma. She looked at me, I looked back at her. Steady, comfortable, at home in this kitchen in a way that I could see her registering it. Didn't feel quite right, and didn't feel quite wrong, and was slowly, quietly making her feel like she was the one who'd walked into the wrong house. I'm glad you're here, I told her. Eat something. Roberta arrived at 1. I hadn't invited Roberta. Emma had, which meant Emma had been on the phone with her mother again and had decided she needed reinforcement, which meant Emma was more off balance than I'd realized. Roberta Vance was 79 years old, small, upright, sharpied in the way of women who spent a long time paying attention to things they couldn't change. She came through the door, kissed Emma on the cheek, surveyed the room, and when her eyes landed on me, they stayed. Dean, she held out both hands. I took them, looked at her. Something in her face was doing the same math Tyler had done Monday night, and she was further along in the calculation. Roberta, glad you could make it. Been a good week, I said. She held my gaze 1 beat longer than comfortable, then moved into the kitchen. I didn't know it yet, but Roberta Vance had made a phone call that morning that had nothing to do with Emma. The afternoon moved the way good afternoons move, with noise and food and overlapping conversation. Marcus and Butch found each other immediately and settled into the easy back and forth of 2 men who'd both spent years in Dean's orbit and had never been allowed to meet. Tyler arrived at 2, walked in, looked around, saw Marcus Ford, and said, "Is that did someone actually invite?" and then caught himself and sat down and said nothing else, just watched the room with the same quiet attention he'd had all week. Mara sat next to Roberta at the kitchen table. I watched them from the doorway, a conversation I couldn't hear over the general noise, something passing between them that was low and careful and real. Emma managed the room the way she always managed rooms moving through it, directing, repositioning, offering drinks people hadn't asked for, steering conversations. The performance was smooth. It was always smooth. But the room wasn't responding the way rooms usually responded to her, because the room wasn't organized around accommodating Emma Vance Liam. It was organized around a man she'd thought she'd fully managed 20 years ago, doing things she'd shut down so completely that the people who remembered him doing them had stopped expecting to see it again. At 3:15, I raised a glass. To Dean, I said the room went quiet, wherever he is right now, and I know exactly where that is. This one's for you. The room raised their glasses. Even Emma lifted hers slightly with an expression I couldn't entirely categorize. My phone buzzed. A text from Dean from Louisville from my house where Patrice had made him eat 3 real meals a day and sleep 8 hours, and apparently also watch old baseball games and cry once productively about the Portland promotion. I can hear them from here. Go get him, brother. I put the phone in my pocket, looked up. Roberta was watching me from across the room, not suspicious exactly. Something more like recognition. The expression of a woman who has seen this face before and is deciding quietly what to do with the information. She put her glass down, stood up, and walked over to me with the deliberate steadiness of a 79-year-old woman who has decided she's done waiting. Walk with me, she said. We stood on Dean's back porch, the September afternoon cooling around us, the Hyde Park neighborhood going quiet in the way it goes quiet on Saturdays, just enough sound to feel inhabited. Roberta looked out at the yard. You're not Dean, she said. I didn't answer. You're Liam I've known since you took my hands at the door. She paused. Dean always hugs me. He doesn't take hands. You took my hands because you didn't know. I leaned against the porch railing, the handshake. One more detail I missed. Are you going to say something? I asked. She was quiet for a moment. Then my husband ran the same house for 41 years. Same methods, different name. Her voice had lost whatever was careful in it. What was underneath was just old and true and tired. I watched Emma learn it. I thought she was protecting herself, learning how to be strong. I didn't understand what she was learning until it was too late. Roberta, she learned it from me, she said flat. No drama, just a fact being put down on a table. I taught her by showing her that this is how you keep someone. He turned back to me, and for the first time since I'd arrived, he looked like my brother instead of a man I used to know. Don't blow up my house. I'm not going to blow up your house. I set the cup down. I'm going to remind it what you sound like. We spent all of Friday and Saturday in that hotel room. Dean talked. I took notes. Actually took notes, a yellow legal pad. Because Patrice was right about the details. Emma's schedule, her coffee order in the morning. The specific way Dean loaded the dishwasher that she'd corrected enough times that it was now muscle memory for him. The neighbors to avoid. The ones who were genuinely Dean's people. the way Emma referred to his engineering work as your little projects. Dean said it so neutrally that I don't think he even registered it anymore. I registered it. Sunday morning, September 7th, Dean caught a Greyhound to Louisville. Patrice was waiting for him at the station. She'd agreed to host him, feed him, and keep him off his phone unless it was an emergency. Her words to him at the door, as relayed to me later, were, "Come in, eat something real. Your brother's got this." Sunday afternoon, I drove Dean's car, a sensible gray sedan that had Emma preferred radio station already programmed, across the river and into Hyde Park, Cincinnati. I parked in Dean's driveway, sat for a second. 30 years she ran this man. 10 days, I figured. 10 days of a different version of the same face. Let's see what Emma Vance does when the machine doesn't run. I got out of the car and walked into my brother's house. Welcome back to Final Verdict. Grab your favorite snack, settle in, and get ready, because today's story proves that every decision has a consequence. Some people had every opportunity to do the right thing, but they made the worst possible choice. After Tyler left, after the dishes were done, I did them without being asked, which apparently was not Dean's pattern because Emma watched me from the doorway with an expression like she was checking if the step was broken. I sat in the living room and watched the evening news. Emma came in at 9, sat in her chair, picked up her book. 10 minutes passed. "You're quiet tonight," she said. "Long week," I said. "Good quiet, though." She turned a page. I looked at the television. "Good quiet, though." Dean had told me she hated that phrase, that he'd used it once years ago, and she told him that quiet is never good. It just means something's being avoided. I waited 30 seconds. What does that mean? Good. Quiet means I'm comfortable. I didn't look away from the TV means the house feels okay. Doesn't always feel okay. A pause long enough to park a car in. The pot roast was good. She finally said, "Yeah, I said it was." I went to bed at 10:30, lay in Dean's bed in Dean's room and looked at the ceiling. He's been sleeping in this room for 30 years. Same ceiling, different man than he started as. Not for long. Monday, September 8th, 6:45 in the morning. I was making coffee when Emma came downstairs in her robe, already operating, already in the mode I'd come to think of as management posture. Chin up, shoulders set, the morning briefing face. "The Hendersons are coming Saturday," she said, pulling her mug from the cabinet. "I need you to confirm the menu with Sandra Henderson. She has that dairy thing now. And move your thing with Tyler to Sunday. Also make sure your car is out of the driveway by 10. Sandra comments on cars." I poured my coffee, turned around. "No." Emma stopped, not froze. Stopped. The way a machine stops when you pull a plug. Everything that was in motion just ceased. "What?" "Tyler's thing stays where it is. My car's fine in the driveway." I picked up my mug. Before we jump in, tell us in the comments what you think is going to happen, and don't forget to subscribe to Final Verdict. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Emma was in the kitchen Sunday dinner pot roast, which Dean had mentioned was her signature performance dish, the one she made when she wanted the house to feel like everything was fine. She looked up when I came in. "You're late. Traffic on the bridge." I set Dean's keys on the hook by the door. Right hook. Dean had specified, always the right hook, and walked to the kitchen like I'd done it 10,000 times, because Dean had 10,000 times at least. "The Pattersons confirmed for October 15th, Emma said, not looking up from the stove. "I told them we'd do dinner here. I need you to look at the garage this week. The shelving on the left side has been loose for months." "I'll take a look," I said. "Also, your mother called." "I'll call her back." She called twice. I turned, looked at Emma directly. She was still facing the stove, poised, composed. The specific posture of a woman who expects her words to land without requiring eye contact to enforce them. 25 years of watching people in institutions taught me something. People who control others rarely look at them when they're giving instructions. Eye contact implies negotiation. Instructions don't negotiate. "I'll call her back, Emma," I said. Same tone, no edge. She didn't respond, which meant that was fine. I didn't know it yet, but that exact exchange, so small, so routine, was going to feel completely different to her by Wednesday. Dinner was quiet. Tyler stopped by. He lives 12 minutes away in Oakley, worked at a marketing firm downtown and ate with us. He looked at me once across the pot roast with an expression I couldn't fully read. Not suspicious, something more careful than that. I filed it away.